All right. Now, talk about another economic thing that I don't think a lot of people realize. And in fact, I'd say most people probably don't even, a lot of intelligent people. When it comes to, the job market, this, that, or the other, there's two kinds. Look, basically, the entire economy is now, if it was a real economy, and always has been, pretty much entirely based upon sales. That's it. A product or service exists, it's sold, you get paid. If you're not a salesman, then you are the product. Yeah. If you're not selling goods, then you're selling your time and energy. The difference is, for the most part, people who succeed in selling goods or I suppose in having their own business selling specialized services, they become wealthy when they succeed in it. While people who are employed by others, and by the way, if you are employed by others, then the people who you work for are in sales. That's the truth. Let's say you shovel shit, and you sweep out horse stalls or whatever, or you follow cows around with a pooper scooper for work or something. Or you run fence, or whatever. You load cows onto a truck and work for some farmer doing that, a rancher, Well, the rancher is in sales, and the product he's selling is beef. And the product you're selling is your time and energy. Now, the end product is the one that's worth the most money. So that's why the rancher lives in a big house on a big ranch, and you live in a bunkhouse. See, most people don't get this basic concept. Now, I understand it, but that doesn't mean that I'm a great salesman. I like to be, because I know that so long as we have to exist in this economy, this world structured around money, trade, that the only way to become successful in this world is to get in sales and become good at it. Now, yes, let's say, now it's different. There's different, when I say being in sales, I'm talking about something. If you own, a store, for instance, right? The owner of Walmart or whatever, some small time, whatever store you want to think of. The person who owns that will stock inventory. They paid for this inventory with the capital that they already had, or they got a loan to pay for the inventory, and then they opened a retail place and they sold the inventory, which was theirs to sell for markup. Or say you're a carpenter, you make tables and chairs and you sell those. Or you are a clothing designer, or you make clothes. You make those and you sell them. Say you're a painter, you make paintings and you sell them. It doesn't necessarily. Now, obviously the biggest increase as far as profit goes is in creating an original product, whether that be art or whatever, something that you created with your own two hands from scratch. But then there's a problem of production, being able to keep up with demand for the product that you're trying to sell, right? That's why a lot of people will buy these products cheaply manufactured in some factory so they can sell them at a high markup and still have heavy good profits, you know. Well, that again is still sales. On the other hand, if you work at a store and you work behind a cash register, or you stock merchandise in the warehouse or on the shelves or whatever, you could try to say that you're in sales, but you're not really in sales. The people who are in sales are the people who own the merchandise that they're selling, and you work for them. You're selling your time and your energy, and you're getting paid less for selling your time and energy than the person who's selling the trinkets that they have stored in the warehouse. Now, you may have stocked the warehouse or stocked the store with these trinkets, but they own them. When they're sold, the majority of the overhead profit ends up in their pocket, essentially. That's why they live in a really big house, and you don't. People don't seem to get this, you know. Now, there's also services, or a way that people can sell their time in a specialized sort of a way, right? For instance, let's say you're you make really good cookies and cupcakes, and you open up a bakery or something, and you bake a bunch of cookies and cupcakes with your special recipe, and you get a bunch of people to buy them. Well, good for you. See, you're in sales, but you're also providing a service up until a point. But of course, you know, this is the sort of thing that, for instance, like the Reese's peanut butter cup, right? I forget the man's name. I believe the last name is Reese's, but when he created this peanut butter cups, you know, he made them like in his basement or something, basically, at first. People liked him. He got more and more people to buy him, and he ended up making enough money to, I don't know, he ended up starting some candy company or something, and then, you know, of course, eventually things became automated. He had other people making the peanut butter cups for him. He no longer had to sit around and pour ingredients and mix them up and pour them into the cups. He had other people doing that for him, you know. Now, you don't get to be at that level if you're stuck in the mindset of the employee. If you see the people that really get ahead in the world, now I haven't got ahead in the world, so all I'm saying is I am capable of making observations, and I have observed that the people that have got ahead in this world, at least, aside from the robbing, thieving, and murdering types, have been those who are in sales. And when I say those in sales, I don't mean their employees. I mean those who were able to start their own business. When I'm talking sales, I'm talking about, kid with a lemonade stand, a guy who buys a bunch of newspapers and gets a discount by buying them in bulk, and he sets up a newspaper stand, and he stands out front of it on a busy street and says, "Papers, get your papers here." That used to exist. Or a guy who buys grows or buys flowers in bulk and then sells them on a side of a street corner. Or somebody who goes into some store and finds strawberries on sale for a cheap price, and he buys a bunch of strawberries, and then he sets a table up on the side of a busy street, and he piles a bunch of strawberries up and puts a sign out, "Strawberries," and he puts a markup on the price, and he makes a profit, and he goes back and he buys more strawberries. He does it again, maybe then he buys some blueberries and puts the blueberries, strawberries, blackberries here. That's sales. That's the way. That's how everyone, for the most part, used to make money back in the day. That's what people don't seem to comprehend nowadays. I mean, there's sales and services. Services is kind of sales, but it's still like we've become too much of a service economy where people sell themselves instead of a product. If you were to go to almost any other country, like, hell, you can even see some of this stuff popping up in the United States again, and it's nice to see it, but you mostly only see like Hispanic people doing this stuff. Of course, maybe they're the only ones that can get away with it. I don't know. But when there was freedom, much more freedom in this country, like, this is how big, when you look down Main Street and you see Taco Bell, Taco Time, Carl's Jr., Burger King, all this KFC, you go back in history, man. It almost every single one of these things starts out with a story. Colonel Sanders, he's an old man living in a shack on the side of a busy road. One day he goes out and he puts a sign out front of his house, that says he'll, come, Colonel Sanders Restaurant or whatever the heck, right? Whatever he wrote on it, and people start showing up at his house, and he invites them in and he cooks a meal for them. Not necessarily chicken, he'd make them, pork chops or whatever the heck they wanted, whatever he had on hand. And he ended up making enough money doing that to where he was able to rent or buy a space to have the first restaurant. And then one thing led to another, and now we got KFC everywhere. Or Carl's Jr. started with some guy with a hammer and some boards and some paint and whatever, maybe some sort of cooler or something, or whatever he said. He built a hot dog cart basically, and he shoved it to some area where enough foot traffic was, and he had a sign, "Hot dogs, get your hot dogs here," right? And he sold some hot dogs and sold more hot dogs, and he made enough money to get a space and open up his first restaurant. He'd sell hot dogs and hamburgers or whatever, right? Probably had just a few items on the menu to start with, or maybe more, whatever. One thing led to another. Big, international chain restaurant. Same thing with, McDonald's. All that that's the way it used to be. If you want to see what, you just gotta look at marketplaces in Jamaica or Afghanistan, Pakistan. I don't know about Pakistan, but I mean Istanbul. Maybe poor areas of Turkey, possibly some areas in Jamaica. I don't, various places to try to just to be, or I don't know, go watch Hercules, Legendary Journeys of Hercules, or some other show that's showing whatever movie or show or whatever, showing people walking around in the medieval times or something. That's what free market capitalism looks like. It's it's a dude in a pickup truck with a bunch of boxes of apples or something that he picked off the trees in his backyard, or that he found in an orchard in the fucking forest or something, and he went out and picked them. Or he went out in the woods and found blackberry bushes, and he gathered a whole bunch of blackberries up. Spent days and days, weeks, just whatever, just long time. Him and his friends or whatever got together. They pick a shitload of blackberries from the wild, and then they're just there with their pickup truck full of blackberries in a parking lot somewhere with a sign, "Blackberries, however many dollars a bushel," or what. That's real capitalism. Is, "Oh, you've got apples, I'll trade you my oranges for your apples. I'll trade you my blueberry pie for your this many pounds of your blackberries," or whatever, right? Or I'll trade you these shoes for those pants, or I'll trade you this hat for that shirt, or that's the way that it used to work, basically. Or of course there was always coinage, but there wasn't always coinage. There were little baubles, whatever you want to call them, basically shiny crap that people that we call various forms of money now. Rubies, diamonds, gemstones, shiny fucking rocks. It could have salt, grain. This is what the economy in reality, what it's you've got this big bag of salt, and this much salt is going to be worth this much sugar, and this much wheat is worth this much corn, and that's what the fucking economy really is, man. That's the real money. People don't get it, but my point is, it's all sales. It's all sales, man. You're either selling a product or you are the product. Period. That's it, man. That's pretty much what it is. Just saying.